This is going to be the next project here. I got this Oxy-Acetylene torch system here, and I bought at like an estate sale type place this cart. And this used to be made for stacking up reams of paper all the way around it. So it's really strong. That base is insanely heavy. I bet you that base is close to 100 pounds, just it. But when I saw this online, I figured I could probably cut it down. I bought it for 35 bucks. All of the carts that I could buy online looked pretty cheap, and they were like $100 or more. You know, even for a cheap one was like 150 bucks. So I figured for 35 bucks and me spending a billion hours on it, I ought to be able to make something better. So anyway, I'm gonna try to cut this all down and make a cart for this system out of it. Alright, so that's definitely working, but it's going really slow, and I've got a torch for cutting sitting right there, so I'm going to try that now and see if that's better. Alright, I got that top piece off, and I'm liking my plan. I think it's going to be kind of cool, and it's very sturdy still. So I think that using that round tubing will work and be plenty of reinforcement. So now what I got to do is see if I can get this back half cut off. All right, I have everything ground down so the paint is off and all the touch points are ready. And I think I'm ready to start welding. Alright, so these actually feel really solid just like this, but these holes turned out to be kind of like much bigger than I thought they were going to be. And so I can't really weld that, fill that in. There might be a way to do that, but I don't know how to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of this tubing straight across here so that there won't be any play this way on these handles. But I'm just going to decide if I'm going to put it out here or right against this back piece for extra strength. What I decided to do was put it all the way on the end like that, so it'll be a handle coming all the way across. To do it up here was kind of going to be in the way of the handles, and I didn't think it would give it as much strength, so I don't really know for sure, but I think this will work. I've sort of coped the end of these right here and here so that it fits nicely up against this piece, and so I'll weld that on and see how that looks. This will show you how heavy and awkward this piece was to work with. Watch what happens when I try to tilt it up. Okay, so for the mobility, I found these are like just regular hand cart dolly wheels at Harbor Freight for like 10 bucks each. And I chose these ones because they have bearings in there, And they come also with these like little washers and these little, I don't know what these are called, but some kind of like a lock that goes on the end of the rod to keep the wheel on. And then if that doesn't work, I'll just drill a hole through it and put a cotter pin. But I'm pretty sure that'll work. I've used these kinds of things before. Usually they're like a little cap, but they work pretty good. The harder you push on them, the more they resist. Okay, I've got this all lined up the way I think I want it. Everything's ready. Just gonna go ahead and weld that rod to the bottom of the cart. Here's my thinking on these feet. So I've just taken this little piece of angle iron, I've cut them both at 4 inches. To make it level is about 5 1/4. And to tip it back just a little bit is probably like 5 1/2, maybe even a little further than that. But I cut these at 4, so I can just take like a 2x2 piece of wood and put them in here at whatever height I want and just screw them in using these holes I drilled in there. And then that way it won't be a marring surface, like it won't scratch, because it'll just be a piece of wood sticking out of here. And I can adjust that height as much as I want, up or down, depending on, you know, if I feel like it's tilted back too far, I can adjust it with the wood. So I just need to get this part cleaned up a little bit more from removing the casters that were there, and then I can go ahead and weld these on. So I decided that I wanted to put something around here so that this bottom part would be supported. And I have so much of this sheet metal that I thought, well, it'll be easy to do that, and I'll just give it a slight bend. But what I did was I got 2 of these pieces cut, and there's no way I'm bending that. I just can't believe how strong it is. So I scored both sides with the angle grinder. And then on this one, I thought that would do it just by scoring it, but I actually had to get out the torch and heat it, like to be red hot. It was still pretty tough to bend, but obviously it could bend. And so I got this one done, and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna see if I can match something close to that with the other one. Alright, I was able to match those fairly decently close, so same process, produced the same thing basically. They're still super hot, so I'm letting them cool, and then we'll see about putting them on. Okay, we are getting close to being done on this thing. I wanted to have a way to wrap up the hoses for the torch so that they're not just kind of draped over the top or something. And you know, the whole time this little piece has been on here where I cut off the other pipe, I've been thinking about grinding that off, and I keep having this thought, you know, leave that on there, you might use it for something. And turns out what I want to do is use these curved ends to do one up and then one down like this. And for the down one, I've cut that little slot in there so it'll slide right over that. I'll just weld that on there, it'll be pointed down. So one will be pointed up here, this one will be pointed down, and then I can wrap the hoses around it. I'm just gonna put that one on right there. I'm gonna weld it back to kind of where that pipe was coming out before. And then because I didn't want this to get water in it and then start rusting or something, I just welded a piece of steel on the top that was like a triangle shape, cut it as close as I could to the edge, and then I just ground it flush and capped that piece off. So that was pretty cool, the first time I've ever done that. And it's not perfect, but I'm really happy with how it came out. Nope. That's crooked, so it's coming off. Here it is with the bottles in it and the cord all wrapped up. I like how it turned out. So I think this thing's ready to prep. I was considering whether or not I was gonna paint it, wasn't sure. But I found like clearance red paint at Lowe's for something like $2.50 a can or some ridiculously low number. So for less than 10 bucks, I can paint it all. So I think I'll do that. It'll look really nice when it's done. All right, I got it a little bit sanded, just a light sanding. Wiped it all down. Got all the stupid tape off of it. There was a bunch of clear tape, which was a pain in the neck, but got it all off. So it's ready to paint.